one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Bay Area Business Podcast, and I am here with Joy, the owner of Omnibus Organizing.
That's right.
That's right. All right. So, Joy, Omnibus Organizing. Tell us about what it is and what you do and how you add value to the community.
Okay. I'm a professional organizer, and as that, I'm a member of the National Association of Professional Organisers.
Oh, wow.
Which I bet you didn't know there was such a thing.
So, like the NFL,
there's 4,000 of us.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And in the Bay Area, there's about 200.
Uh-huh.
And what we do is we solve problems for people that are having a transition of some kind, downsizing, moving, getting divorced, having a child.
Oh, wow.
Just overwhelmed by clutter, or sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's physical clutter, but either. And a fresh pair of eyes can come in and make suggestions in a way that family or friends can't really help you.
Yeah. Nice. So like a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
You said mental and physical. So give us an example about mental clutter and then of course physical clutter.
Okay, well, mental is when people can't let go of something because of who gave it to them.
Oh,
so I'm keeping this teapot even though it's ugly as sin because my friend gave it to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, your duty when you receive a gift is to say thank you very much, not keep it forever.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to kind of inject a bit of humor in that and make them realize that's true. I don't have to keep this. Children's artwork.
Yeah.
Every single piece of paper. So we do things like we take photographs and make a book of the best pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in honouring a token of something. Have a lovely photograph framed on your wall rather than a box under the bed with 4,000 photographs, none of which are dated and nobody knows who the people are.
Uh-huh.
So it's bringing in that mental clarity of, what is the stumbling block? There's a famous organizer, Peter Walsh. He's an Australian.
Oh,
and
he's part of the NFL organization?
Yes, he is.
Nice.
And he has a saying of it's never about the stuff. It's always what the stuff means to you.
Oh, okay.
And usually there's a reason somebody is overwhelmed with it.
Yeah.
Letting it go. For example, someone in their 60s or 70s that decides to downsize. Getting rid of some of those things is very emotional. For a woman, getting rid of all the dishes means she's not the matriarch anymore. She's not going to host the Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
For a man, getting rid of all his tools means he's no longer the guy in the tribe that fixes everything.
Alpha male,
People aren't going to come to him for the bandsaw or whatever it is, So there's steps to go through, and that's what I love, the psychology of that, of helping people keep their eye on the goal and not get sidetracked. You hear about people that are older and have lived in a home for 40 years and they would love to simplify and move to a smaller place, but they don't know what to do with all their stuff.
Yeah.
And in that case, your stuff is stopping you live the life you need to live.
It's holding you hostage.
Yeah, it really is. That's a wonderful expression for it. It is. So it's lots of fun. And then other times, the other side is where it's just a lot of stuff. For example, when someone moves and they've got, 185 boxes in their living room and they have to go to work at 8 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
I can bring a team in and put a house together in a day.
Nice.
And they don't trip over boxes for the next 3 months.
Nice,
A lot of, in this area we have some people that have big commutes.
Mm-hmm.
So they maybe work an 8-hour day, but it turns into a 12-hour day with the time.
Yeah.
Or we have people that are new to the area and they've got a new job, so they want to get straight to work.
Yeah.
And they don't have the time to fuss around putting the dishes in the cupboard. And consequently, you do it when you're exhausted, and so you don't do it well.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, this is my job, I'm going to stand at a spot and go, let's put the coffee pot here and the mugs above it and the tea bags with it, so someone in the morning stands in one spot and makes their cup of tea or their cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've moved and you're exhausted, you're kind of like, well, there's a big space, I'll put the coffee pot there, and there's a space, I'll put the tea bags there, and it doesn't occur to you.
But you think about all that.
That's right. I mean, I'm kind of a Tetris geek, So it's funny how people don't really think it through. I'm amazed. I go in homes all the time where someone spent, $60,000 on a wonderful kitchen remodel, and it has never occurred to them that those shelves can be moved.
Oh.
So they've got, I can't reach my own wine glasses kind of thing, and you're like, why don't I just?
Yeah.
I go to friends' homes and I'll be like, why don't I just move the shelves for you because they'll be like, because I'm tall, Joy, can you get the wine glasses? And I'll be, why don't I just move the shelves?
You teach them how to fish instead of
fishing
the fish.
It is, and it's that's a big part of it. And the other part I think is being a cheerleader, because when people have clutter, for some reason they feel guilty. You don't feel guilty if you have to go to your hairdresser next month and say, my hair's grown, I'm so sorry. It's just a fact. Clutter happens. And but people very often have had someone in their family, often a spouse, that's criticized and made them feel bad. And I come in, and with a professional, there's no judgment. I don't really care how we got here. I just care, what steps do we take to get where you want to be. So that's a fun thing of not letting the client beat themselves up and I should have done this. Be like, okay, let's get to the goal.
Some clients, they might feel bad for having so much stuff. Like, oh, how did I get to this? My garage is full of stuff. But then there's probably some clients, and I've seen this firsthand. I used to do cable install, going house to house.
So you in lots of homes?
Yeah, so I went in plenty of houses. And there are some houses, and you've probably seen the TV show, it's called Hoarders. I've been in those houses, and it's astounding how much stuff they have and stuff they don't need. Have you ever dealt with a hoarder?
I haven't personally. I've been and done. I go and do a 1 hour free consult.
Okay.
And I've met with some hoarding situations. But it's over my head. It's too much for me. And I think one of the parts of being in a small business, your own business, is you realize I can't work with everybody. I need to pick the clients I can be the most help with. And I think I have really ambivalent feelings about that show, because to me it's like making a show out of somebody's mental anguish. I think it's really sad.
It's more mental,
It is. It's an out. Up until this DSM, it was considered an outgrowth of anxiety. Now they've given it its own diagnosis because they've done some work with CAT scans, and a different part of your brain lights up.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's a huge insecurity, and they don't really want to change. They've probably been told by a family member they should change.
So let's dig a little deeper into it. Let's kind of peel the layers back. So they know that they have too much stuff, and they know they're being lambasted or people are correcting them about it, and they still don't want to change. What makes them not want to change? Because
I think it's the constancy of the stuff. It's feeling safe.
Okay.
I mean, we all have a home that's nicer than this room we're sitting in now. Right? We all have some personal things on the walls, and your high school Letterman jacket or whatever. But it's when a person puts that much importance to every single thing. And then it's really hard. And also, they tend to be people that can see the potential in things.
Like, I'll use that one day. Or
that piece of broken jewelry. I could rethread those beads. I could. But you don't ever have time to do any of those things. So it's very hard to convince them to just let it go, let someone else have it. Whereas I think most people, they get in that state because they kind of forgot what they had. We have big homes, we have big cupboards. If you have children, you've probably got sippy cups at the back of the kitchen cupboard, and your kids have gone to college years ago because those things you don't use work their way to the back,
and you don't throw them
and
away.
You never see them. And then when you move, you realize, wow, that was 20 boxes of junk I didn't need to move. I'm so glad I organized before I moved. But I think that people that hoard don't make that decision. They don't have the kind of brain that says, I have enough of something. They can't resist the opportunity for more. And that's one thing I find very sad, that their homes tend to be full of bargain things, impulse buys, stuff from the dollar sales. It's the potential of it rather than the actuality.
Do you think that their attitude of seeing potential in pretty much every item in their house, do you think that can be turned into good? if it's transformed in the right way?
I find it can. I find one thing that really helps clients is if I can come up with an example of a place that really needs those. If I can say, I know a teacher and she's crying out for pencils right now.
There you go.
Oh, lovely. They can see it being
They'll
used.
be able to release it. Because,
Unfortunately, what families tend to do is they get grumpy with whoever's the hoarder and they say, let's get rid of this crap.
Yeah.
Well, you've just insulted the person. You've called their precious things crap.
Yeah.
And so you have to be more kind of resourceful and come up with good ways where things can be used and give them examples of different places you can donate and things like that. It does help.
Yeah.
But it comes back to whether or not they really want to make the change. If their vision is to do something like, I want to move to a smaller house, and so I admit I'm no longer going to have this whole crafts room that I had in my other house, then they have a reason to let it go. And you can say, let's just put all the tools you need, your hot glue gun and whatever, in this one nice box, and we'll take that,
and that's it.
And we'll donate all the rest to creative use for teachers or whatever. But unfortunately, with a hoarder situation, they usually don't want to change. It's usually that the landlord has said the house is unsafe, or their kids have said we won't come visit you anymore. It's a pressure from outside, and I don't think any of us can really change just because of what someone else wants us to do.
We kind of dig in deeper when people tell us it's
we do.
weird how we do that.
It's like, if we all should exercise more than we do. But
no, I'm not.
But we're going to do it if a friend says, hey, I'm going out for a walk after work tonight, want to come with me? We'll do that. But when somebody starts the you should with the pointy finger, we all hate being told should. I mean, I ban the word should. I loathe it.
No should.
No should.
Okay.
Could. I will say to clients, you could donate this to a school, or you could give this to Goodwill.
But no should.
No should. Because
like
it's bossy.
It's assertive too.
It's
direct.
I don't like it. It's a word I just don't like.
I like that. Okay.
And I think my job is to offer them possibilities, to offer them alternatives. And I think that's very important for them to see some potential in the things they've had all this time. Otherwise, if you think about it, if I say somebody's stuff is worthless, I'm almost saying their life is worthless. So I have to be very careful. I think one of the things I love about my job is always finding that balance, because I'm not doing a client a service if I just stand there and go, oh, you poor thing, yes, I'm so sorry for you. They brought me in to make change. But I'm also not going to accomplish that change if I start the should business. So you have to find the balance for each client and which ones you can tease a little bit. And sometimes I think the English accent helps. I think I come over like Mary Poppins.
You sound so much more nice than a regular.
Spit spot, come along, let's get to work, And I think that helps people because it's a different voice to whoever's been nagging them. Or
definitely, I can see that. I remember when that, I guess it was one of the first nanny shows that came on TV, and the lady who came in, who was like the nanny, best nanny in the world, she had the British accent, and I guess it resonated more because it didn't sound like mommy. It didn't sound like the grandma.
That's right.
There's a different sound.
There is a difference, and I think because you're an outsider, people are more likely to listen. I had some clients going back a few years now. These two sisters had inherited the home when their parents passed away, and they wanted to get it on the market. And they couldn't, and it was really because they were being too nice to one another. Neither of them wanted to be the greedy one to go in and take everything they wanted.
Like, you can have it.
What do you want this? I don't know. Do you want this? And it had gone on for months. And the realtor brought me in because she was trying to get the house on the market. And I kind of gave my pitch and my plan, and the husband of one of them looked at me and he was like, you're not saying anything I've been saying for 6 months. And I said, but I'm saying it in a different voice.
He's
and
saying should, and you're saying could.
3 weeks later, the house was on the market.
Wow.
The husband shook my hand and said, I can't believe you got those two to do it. But, I think there's just something about an outsider coming in. And in fact, it's funny, among ourselves in the organising group, if one of us gets backlogged with something, we'll have another organizer come in. We'll pay them.
Yeah.
Because someone else can walk into a storage space or an office and go, well, what about this and what about that? In a way you don't see yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're so busy doing it. And I think it's, especially, I feel sorry for people because we give ourselves such high expectations. I mean, a parent now can't just be a parent. They've got to video and photograph every minute of their child's life. And if they're not scrapbooking it, they're a bad mummy. We've put the bar so high compared to like my mum's generation, where you maybe took a photograph at Christmas and you wrote the date on the back and you were done. I think that's one of the problems.
That's a good.
And also people are incredibly busy. People,
people are always going.
That's right. I mean, people are trying to work. Even if someone doesn't have a job outside, if they're a stay-home mum, they're usually in PTA and volunteering and, driving kids all over the place. It's not, they don't just go play with the kid over the street like they used to. They're in 5 classes and
soccer, piano.
It's
swimming,
finding the time. And then ultimately you should do what you're good at. Like I did a garage a while back for a very successful real estate agent. And what makes more sense, for her to spend her weekend selling a house or tidying out her garage?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
where's your high value task at?
And what happens is you have good intentions, you pull half of it out, and then suddenly, it's time to get Billy from soccer, and you shove it all back.
And later,
I say to clients, what you did was stir it. You didn't accomplish anything. Nothing actually left the house. It all just got put back.
So what got you started in it? What pulled your heart into this direction?
Well, I used to be a teacher.
Okay.
And obviously to be a teacher, you have to be very organised. Otherwise you spend the whole year picking up pencils and you don't get any teaching time. And when I quit teaching, I wasn't quite sure what to do with myself. And being at home in the day for the first time, I watched HGTV. And I kept seeing the show Mission Organisation, and I kept thinking, I would have done this, and I would have done, I like that idea, and it just fascinated me. And it just all fell into place. I called someone in the neighbourhood that was a professional organiser and said, if I buy you a coffee and pay for your time, will you meet with me for an hour to talk about the business, how to run it as a business? And she said, I can do better than that. There's a class for beginning organisers next Saturday.
Nice.
And so I went to that class and never looked back. And it worked great. The national convention happened to be in California that year.
So you went.
So it was easy even on your first year of business. And then you get so many great ideas from other organisers when you do that, and so it all kind of fell into place.
Is there a lot of competition in that space?
That's the interesting thing. There's only, as I say, 4,000 of us in there, and if you compare it to realtors, there's 4,000 realtors just in Contra Costa County.
Yeah, and you. So we will both agree that every mom thinks they're the organization queen, right?
Yes, a lot of people think they're good at it, but the ones that aren't fall by the wayside pretty quickly. And interestingly enough, when they started the National Association back in the 80s, the original people coined this phrase, together we are better. And so it's a sort of expected thing for you to nurture newer organisers. So for example, if I'm working with a client, a young woman that's very good, but she's just got started, so she doesn't have many clients, will crew for me. Another time, if she got a bigger job that she couldn't handle on her own, I would crew for her.
Oh, okay.
And so you keep that balance. Rather than competing with one another, we help one another. And crew jobs are fantastic because you get great ideas from other people.
Crew is just.
Well, you get like 6. Like, say you wanted your garage done, I would bring 4 people or 5 people.
They're the crew.
And we do it in one. Be like, you can do a whole garage in a day. I'm like, oh yeah. You got 2 people assembling shelving. You got 4 people pulling things out. And it goes really, really fast. Send someone off to drop off all the donations, bring you back the tax receipt. And you're done.
Boom.
Instead of it being, well, now there's a pile of this and a pile of that and a pile of something else, and none of it's finished. So we do a lot of that. Nice. That's a really, I think, kind of unusual, because in other organisations or other professions, people are more competitive. but as I said, we've always had that since we started of how do you support, and it gives.
And how many years were you into it?
I've been in it 9 years
9
now.
years,
Yeah. So
9 good years.
It's been really fun. It really, the variety is just fabulous. You know, sometimes I'm in mansions and sometimes I'm in tiny little homes, and it's always interesting.
Every time, right?
Yeah, it is. And this morning I was working with a lady that's 87. You know, I mean, you other times I'm working with 20-somethings, and they're super busy. They're carving their own careers. They don't have time to mess with what I want to do. You know, so it's very interesting, and it's always fun to figure out what it is you're going to say that will help the client trust you.
There you go.
And usually it's about
that's with anything,
it is. It's about relating to them. Like I worked with a lovely couple once. They'd been in their home 41 years, and they were downsizing and moving to Rossmore. And the wife really wanted to work with me, and the husband was. You could tell I don't know what she's going to do. And I very quickly realised with him the issue was his whole life had been the guy that could fix everything. And he knew he was going to be giving that up if he went to Rossmore.
You're stripping him of his badge.
That's right. And what worked for him was finding out that Habitat for Humanity always need tools.
Oh, yeah.
So it was then it was valued.
Yeah.
And by the end of the project, I was like his best friend. He would come to me for advice on all sorts of things because I'd earned that trust.
There you go.
You can't expect to go into someone's home and them just trust you. Like, hey, I've got a business card, trust me. It's not. And you are in because you're working in people's homes. It's
intimate.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. You see their medications, their bank statements. Whatever, and they have to know they can trust you, which again cycles back to why I like to do crew jobs with people that are national organisers. National Association of Professional Organisers, because I know they've got the same code of ethics that I'm bound by. Because you might have someone say, and forget their diamond earrings are in the pocket. So we always check that kind of thing. And I need to know the people crewing for me will immediately
give them back to you.
And they need to know the same when I'm crewing for them. So that mutual trust and respect, I think, is hugely important.
Definitely.
And then sometimes you just need the energy. I mean, that's what I love. When I started organising, I heard about feng shui, and I'm like, whatever. But I see it in my work. You start moving things around, and you start clearing some space, and you start getting some toxic things out of the house that are bad memories, and you feel the energy lift. You feel clients being like, and it's little things. Like they've got some lovely picture tucked behind the table they never got around to hanging, and you like bang a nail on the wall and stick it up for them, and they're so happy to have their home looking the way they want it to. So I love that part of it. I love being able to help people live the life they want to live. That's the thing. I feel like it's huge to see them happy and just relieved.
Beautiful. So Joy, what does, because it sounds like you when you get a big job you hire a crew. So what does growth look like to you? What is do you have your own company, a brick and mortar with moving vans and trucks and
no, I
stores
think I'd prefer to keep it simple.
Keep it organized, right?
It's just you can go down that route. And I don't really want to go down that route. I just feel like it complicates life. You've got a ton of overheads for nothing.
You like more the consultant.
And I do. I think for me, growth is having more people work for me and being able to step back a little bit from the physical part of it. I don't want to be up the ladders with the heavy boxes 10 years from now.
More of the organizing.
Come up with the plan, and I'll go and order all the materials, and I'll supervise. I think it's like a general contractor starts off being the guy that paints and hammers, and then after a while you become the guy that deals with the planning permissions and the so I kind of want to go that route with it. And that is one of the hard things, I think, because To be honest, I think to be a professional organizer, a personality trait we have to have is to be a bit of a control freak and a bit of a attention to detail. Right? That's what clients are paying us for, not to be like, oh, la-di-da, they want a system. And that makes it hard to trust someone else. To take a step away. I mean, now I have people I've worked with a lot that I can be on a job and get it going, and then I could break off and come and do a meeting like this and know the world's not going to end because I left job site and I can go back. So I think that's important for me to have people I trust that I know can hold the fort, so that I can leave and meet with a potential client for next week, or pick up some supplies, or do something else I need to do for the business. And that's kind of where I see growth going, but I still see me being on every job site, at least for part of the day. I don't see me ever stepping away. And partly that's because you don't want to exhaust your client asking them a ton of questions they've already answered. You know, if a client's already said to me, every single photograph you find I want put in this tub, I don't want someone else to be asking, where do I put photographs? They've already told me. You know, your service, you're making their life simpler, not trying to make their head fall off.
Adding to it, So how do you learn more about your space? Do you read books? Do you watch TV?
I read books. I attend the conferences, and I find I learn a lot when I'm working with other people. Because one of us will say, well, what about this? And someone will go, but what about that? And you kind of come up with a hybrid of the idea, and it ends up being, better than both. Wandering around the container store, chatting to the people that work there about, well, what do you use this for, and what do you do that with? It's surprising. Just making decisions. We don't want the clients lifting heavy boxes. We don't want the clients taking things to another part of the house. You tell me this has to go in so-and-so's bedroom, I stick a post-it note on it. Joseph's bedroom, and that's going to go there in a minute, but we're not going to lose our focus now, because that's what people tend to do when they do it for themselves. They wander around the house with a paperclip, and it's like, nah, and so we're very good at that. Even if we're working in one room, like if I was working in a home office, we put a box by the door that belongs in other parts of the house. And you find, one of my kids must have bought this in here. They shouldn't even be here. It goes in that box. And then 15 minutes before our session's over, then we'll say, okay, now we'll walk around the house and put all this stuff back that didn't even belong here in the first place. But you never want the client to leave the room, because they will find something else, It's like, we can run up and down the stairs with that, not you. So it's interesting how you can make their time so much more useful.
Just decision making.
You be the brains, we'll be the brawn. We'll carry it all and bag it all and schlep it.
So who would be a power partner for you? Like, would it be a stager or
a realtor? Realtors are very good power partners for me. Yes, because they know people in the transition.
Exactly.
Yes, and so they, I think, are probably overall my best power partners.
What about a mortuary? A funeral home?
I have done a few estates, actually.
People pass and maybe they want to get it figured out.
Especially when families on the other East Coast, they don't want to come here and do it, and they don't, even if they are here, they don't know what we know. They don't know you can get hazmat picked up, and you can take this to St. Vincent de Paul, and and if they're busy, you call. Whereas I've got all those numbers in my speed dial kind of thing. It's like, oh, you've got a bed that needs to go somewhere. Boom, boom. And again, it comes back to, as I said before, always employing people that are very qualified and very ethical. So we would go through and we would keep paperwork on bank accounts or anything legal, so that the estate attorney can see it. Other things, like handwritten letters and photographs, obviously the family needs those. Other things where it's just sort of statement after statement after statement for the same account, it's like, no, we've got one of the statements so the attorney knows this account exists and the number is. we don't need the last 20 years of statements. They can all be shredded.
Yeah.
And we only take shredding to places where we stand there and see it done.
Yeah.
We're like neurotic about those. But, you know, as I said,
So, recommend one personal development book. And
I brought one with me.
You brought it with you?
I did.
Beautiful.
I love this.
Getting
It's
things
an
done.
old book.
Yeah.
You can see I've reread it and reread it. My copy's filthy. Because it seems as though you go through stages in your life where you adopt a new habit and it works for you really well for a while. And then either your circumstances change or you get sloppy.
Yeah.
And reading this again reminds you, oh yeah, I forgot about prioritizing or whatever it is.
Yeah. Kind of refreshes you.
You know, time's the only thing you can't buy more of. It's the only thing you can't replace.
Yeah.
And if you skate through life and waste your time, that's really sad. So that's sort of to me, that's the basic start of all the time management books was this one. So I love that.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool, good stuff. So this is the last question, and you know, answer as best as you can. But if you had a friend come into town and they were starving, they really wanted something to eat, where would you take them to get a bite to eat that best represents the Bay Area?
Well, that's tricky. I think there's a wonderful restaurant in San Francisco that's run by Martin Yan of the Yan Can Cook TV show.
Okay.
That's kind of fun because it's a sort of he took a lot of traditional tastes and made it hipper and younger.
Nice.
So probably that would, to me, represent the Bay Area. Although in Walnut Creek there's a couple of really good Vietnamese bistros that are more younger, which I think is you know, I think it's nice to have something that has a little bit of a slant to it. My personal favorite is Havana, the Cuban restaurant in Walnut Creek. Just because I like the whole ethic and vibe in there. They're always really friendly, and the mojitos are to die for, you know. So.
Good stuff.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I just want to say thanks for taking the podcast.
Well, thank you
if you guys
for
need
the
any
chance.
organizational help, please ask Joy at Omnibus Organization. And yeah, thanks for taking the podcast. I'm sure they learned a lot. And if you have just one tip for our listeners to get their, let's go with their home office. One tip to get their home office going in the right direction.
Oh my. One tip for home office. It's an oldie, but only ever handle a piece of paper once.
Only handle a piece of paper once.
Yeah, make a decision. If you do not have time to deal with the mail, don't open it.
Yeah.
The world's not going to end if you don't open your mail for 2 days. But once you open it, throw away the envelopes. I don't know why people fold it back up and put it in the envelopes, but that's a very common thing I find. Look at it, deal with it, and just do it once.
Only handle a piece of paper once.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here first or second. I'm not sure, but thanks for tuning in, and Joy, I'll see you at the top.
Thank you.
All right.